What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JB from the Zeal Cigar Review, and today I'm talking about the next cigar in the Zeal Cigars legacy kind of lineup, if you will. The very first one that came out was the William Bradley. The last review I did was on the Faithful Servant, the cigar made for Bradley Reith, the man himself. And then this cigar is kind of the continuation of that. And this is my cigar, which I have stickers now. Is called the Good Soldier. And then we had the Faithful Servant, which was the other day. Now, I know some of you guys didn't get stickers. Let me know. We'll figure it out. But they only come with the 10 packs. But we're going to get this puppy out of the cellophane. This dark Habano Oscuro. My cigar, the Good Soldier. And talk about it all next on the Zeal Cigar Review. And there you have it, the Good Soldier, the Habano Oscuro. All Nicaraguan tobacco. The only thing that I would say is really unique about this, I'm not going to share everything about it, but the only thing that is really unique about this cigar is it does have some Ometepe tobacco in it. And I have smoked quite a few of these, and so have some people in the lounge. And right now the conversation is... Do I like my own cigar better, or one of the ones I just previously made, the Mexican San Andreas with the broadleaf binder and the broadleaf filler, which is the Carbonado, or the Black Diamond? So now the conversation has kind of been, which one do I like better? Do I like my own cigar that I picked for myself, or should it have been the Carbonado? There's also a cigar that this kind of tastes like, and I really want to kind of get into that, and I'm going to have to probably create some sort of a sampling of the three and kind of try all three of them in a mix. Yeah, this thing has started some conversations around the shop on, it's kind of where does it fit? But there's only one way for me to get into this cigar and tell you guys about it and kind of explain why I sound a little bit crazy right now when I'm talking about where this cigar fits in the Zeal Cigars lineup. You know what we got to do. We got to cut light and smoke. Again, I got my Calibri. I'm not going to V-cut this. It's kind of a goofy box press shape on the end here, so I don't want to ruin it. So I'm just going to do a little straight cut on it. Closed foot, so give it a good little burn. Right off the first light with the closed foot, you're 100% going to get some grassy notes. Now, one of the mistakes I made with this cigar is I had about 3 guys smoking it in the lounge at the same time. And there was a lot of smoke in there. This thing smokes like a freight train. Think, if you've been a fan of Zeal cigars long enough, one of our oldest cigars is the King's Comeback. And the King's Comeback is an absolute smoke bomb. I mean, once you light it, it just puts out so much smoke off the foot of the cigar and when you take a draw on the cigar. Lots and lots of smoke. And what's kind of interesting about this cigar is it's kind of like the King's Comeback that grew up a little bit. It kind of fits right in the middle of where the Carbonado is, and it's a little bit more, where the Carbonado's a little bit more earthy, the King's Comeback is a little bit more sweet, a little bit more creamy. This guy goes right in the middle of all of that, with a little bit more of like a smoky burnt wood, but you get notes of like milk chocolate, cocoa, espresso, wood, grass. I mean, it's a very unique cigar, but let's get into it a little bit more. Now, in the previous video, I don't know if I really got into a whole lot of detail on how the naming of these cigars came about. And, I mean, it's pretty simple. When Brad passed, there were multiple people that came to me and stated how they viewed our relationship, meaning mine and Bradley's, to Paul and Timothy's. And anybody that knows Paul and Timothy, Paul was doing his travels and evangelizing and going around and talking to all the churches. And he kind of had a loop that he would do. And Timothy was kind of an understudy that he kind of took under his wing, and it kind of like was an adopted son to him. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have a dad or anything and that I needed adopted. You guys have actually seen my dad on camera. We look identical. But I was kind of adopted into the Reith family in a sense, and over the 6 years and working with them. And so our relationship was kind of compared to that. Bradley being a pastor for 20 years and continuing his faithfulness and his service to God and to Jesus and to the church, even after he left being a pastor and started a cigar company, which is where the name faithful servant came from. You know, God says, I forget where it's at, but he says, for you have been a good and faithful servant. And I believe that Bradley Reith was. That's where the name faithful servant came from. And then the name the good soldier comes from, so Paul wrote 2 letters to Timothy when Paul was in prison. And Paul's first letter to Timothy was kind of him laying out guidelines. This was Paul saying, Timothy, when you go out and you continue my work, this is how I want you to carry it on. The second letter to Timothy was more about Paul's love to Timothy. And they had said, there's a line, I think, in, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 14. It says, take care of the good that has been entrusted to you. Essentially, it's put a little bit better than that, but that's how I'm going to portray it. And, something very good and very unique was in a way entrusted to me after Bradley Reith passed. And even events leading up to that, it's really hard to not see the divine intervention and preparation for the things that were coming. It's really crazy. That story, we might talk about that one day. Maybe we'll do a podcast on it with like Dave and Kevin and a couple of the guys or something, and really dive into what I mean by that. But essentially, Paul had said, take care of the good that you're entrusted with. And that's where the term good soldier came from. And in this particular situation, as it pertains to Zeal Cigars and the legacy of Bradley Reith, I am the good soldier to carry that legacy on. And it's not easy. And it's never going to be easy. But I'm very blessed and very honored to be able to do this. Hopefully things get a lot better. Hopefully I get better at doing this because, being in front of the camera is not my thing. I feed very well off others. My joke is that I'm not a 30-minute set comic. I'm an improv comic. I feed much better off of other people rather than just sitting here yelling at a camera to you guys. So, look for more collaboration type stuff with people. Look for me to be on camera with more people. My personality comes out better that way. But I've talked about doing some golf content. I actually did film that day after I put the Faithful Servant, after I filmed the Faithful Servant video. I did actually play Pebble Beach with 3 clubs, a driver, a pitching wedge, and a 7-iron. And I actually shot +10. And if I remember correctly, because the simulator's kind of goofy sometimes with how it reads your shot, I think I only took maybe 1 or 2 mulligans on the 18 holes. So, shooting 82 with 3 clubs isn't too bad. So I haven't decided if I want to put that video up yet and edit it down, or if I want to just do a whole new one and actually change clubs out. But yeah, look for some different content. I'm going to try to, get up into some mountains and drive up some places and do some more outdoor reviews. I was actually going to do this one from my backyard, but just worked out better that I do it now. Now, what's funny about this is this cigar was not my original choice for my cigar. It kind of was and it wasn't. I wanted something a little bit different. And that was another one of those situations where Craig was like, nope. So I was like, dang it. But luckily, Esteban Carreras is amazing and they have access to a lot of different things. And we were able to find something else that worked for me. And that's where this thing came from. And I've been really happy with it. It's literally like you take the King's Comeback and the Carbonado and you smash them together. It's like the King's Comeback added just a little bit more of some fuller-bodied Nicaraguan tobacco and a different wrapper. And they're really similar. It's really insane. So I'm going to have to smoke them. I might have to smoke all 3 blindfolded and just find out which one I like best and do like the best of the Zeal box press Maduros and see which one I actually really like the best. I don't know. It kind of sucks to not like your own cigar better than one you already have made. But the Carbonado is really unique, and I'm a broadleaf hound. So the Carbonado is Mexican San Andreas, broadleaf. Pretty unique. This, Habano Oscuro, Nicaraguan. And then you got Nicaraguan binders and fillers from 3 different regions in Nicaragua. There's only so many. You can probably figure out which ones by smoking the cigar, to be honest with you. But one of the regions is there is some Ometepe in there. Almost no pepper on this cigar. I mean, you can retrohale pretty much the whole thing. Your eyes might water a little bit, but there's almost no pepper, no mouth burn, very little baker spice, almost non-existent. This thing really is more on the like light hay, a little bit of grass, and then just like cocoa, espresso, a little bit of wood, like a charred wood. It's a unique cigar. Very complex. Little bit of spice just started to come through there as you're getting into the middle of the first third. Not a lot. I could probably hand this cigar to a newer smoker, and the taste, the flavor profile, the boldness, things like that wouldn't be overpowering. I will say, though, it is going to be a little strong on the finish of the cigar, right? So it may not taste strong, but when you get finished with the cigar and you go to stand up, you might be like, whoa. YouTube doesn't like the naughty tobacco word that starts with the N, so we're not going to say it. But the byproduct of smoking this cigar, because of its rich Oscuro wrapper and the Ometepe and some of the stronger Nicaraguan fillers, it might sneak up on you a little bit. But the flavor profile is kind of an illusion, right? It makes you think it's going to smoke a little bit smoother and cleaner and lighter like the King's Comeback does. But it doesn't. It smokes a little bit more like a fuller-bodied cigar with a lighter profile. Look at the oils on that burn. You can almost see that dark line forming right above the burn line. That's all, yeah, look at that. You can kind of see the sheen there, right about here. You can see all the oils in this Oscuro. So when you see that, know that the more you age this cigar, the more that those oils are going to settle a little bit more and change the flavor profile. Now, I'm kind of starting to wonder, I might have to age some cigars and see, because I have a lot of cigars in my humidor at home that just sit there. They don't get touched. They literally just sit in the humidor. And I pulled one out recently and smoked it, and I don't remember what it was. I'll have to think about it for a minute. If I remember, I'll say something. It was something that had been aged in there for a minimum 4 years. I've been in the industry now 6 years. I've had that humidor for about 5.5 of it. Yeah, so about 4 years minimum probably. And I smoked it, and I was like, man, I liked it better when it was fresh. It had a little bit more flavor to it, a little bit more sweetness, but it felt like the longer that cigar sat and aged, it kind of mellowed out too much to the point of where some of those notes that maybe those oils used to produce really weren't there anymore. So I'm kind of wondering, and I may have to do some experimentation on whether or not, and I got some ways to do it. We've already been talking about it, me and Kevin. Kevin's a nut when it comes to experiments. You guys know that. And, I may have to do an experiment on, are some of the cigars better when they're a little bit more fresh with maybe like a month to 4 months age versus 6 months to a year's age? And like I said, I do have some cigars in my humidor that I could easily yank out and do a comparison to some cigars that are the same cigar that don't have that age on them. But no, long story short, when you see a cigar that's oily like that, you could probably age them for a few weeks to a month or so after you get them, and let those oils settle even just a little bit more. These are still pretty fresh. I haven't even had these in-house for 2 weeks yet. So, it's hard to say what they'll be like if they settle a little bit more. The tobacco used in it itself is aged, but the cigar, once it has been rolled, is pretty much shipped almost immediately after they're rolled and packaged. They don't sit on a shelf and age after they've been rolled. Now, I like that as a consumer because that gives me control. And in some aspects of my life, I'm a little bit of a control freak. Some of us are. And I like that control because I can smoke that cigar fresh and go, okay, do I like it? No, let's age it a little bit. Okay, 6 months around the road, 4 months down the road. Oh, wow. 2 weeks down the road, it's better, or it's worse, or it needs more time, right? So I like it when they come a little bit more fresh. We have a couple cigars that come that way. Because that puts the control in your hands as far as the smoker. If you buy a bundle of cigars, you know that you can set them aside and age them for 3 or 4 weeks. Then they're going to be perfect. You start smoking through that bundle, and while you're smoking through that bundle, you order the next one, and you get that one aging for 2 or 3 weeks before you get done with that one, right? And that's kind of how it works. And I like that. Some people don't. Some people want it to just be done, ready, cut light, smoke, they're done, right? And that's fine. There's some amazing cigars out there that are that way, and we have a few that are that way as well. But when you really get into it, I want the control of how my cigar is aged. I want to control at what point do I feel that it's at that perfect age point that I think it's smoking the best. I feel like I'm going on tangents today. I'm really talkative today. My allergies aren't bothering me, as you can tell. I don't look like I got punched in the face and cried for 4 hours. Look at all the smoke. I mean, the thing is, dude, should have named it Thomas, bro. Okay, so I just had a little bit of a transition note here as I'm kind of getting into the start of the second and third here. A little bit of a nuttiness. So you get a little bit of the earthy nuttiness. You get a little bit of like that cocoa and a little bit of like a milky chocolate. It's kind of weird. There's not a lot of cigars that you get all three types of cocoa from, right? Like, if you ever see the flavor wheel, maybe we'll do a video on the flavor wheel and like where these crazy concepts of tasting notes come from, right? But if you've seen it, you know the flavor wheel. And really, there's like three chocolate notes that you can get out of a cigar. You get cocoa, milk chocolate, dark chocolate. Now, cacao is going to be more like that raw, really almost bitter, kind of almost powdery cocoa taste, whereas obviously dark chocolate, you guys know dark chocolate, and then milk chocolate, obviously, you know, milk chocolate. So this cigar kind of runs the gambit. During different sections of the cigar, you get like a pure dark cacao, then you get like a dark rich cocoa, and then you get like a milk chocolate. So this thing kind of runs the gambit on the cocoa scale. It's really interesting. Spices pick it up just a tad bit more on the retrohale. Still not enough to be offensive, and it goes away just as fast as it hangs around. It doesn't burn burn the top of your mouth or the front of your tongue or anywhere in your mouth is burning. It doesn't burn the nose coming out. It really does just kind of tingle and go. The aromatics of this cigar is almost like it's kind of like a burnt, like a charred wood almost. Now, a lot of the times, because it's an Oscuro, it's going to look really dark and rich. But there are times where it'll look a little bit more reddish, more like a Habano style. Another cigar that Zeal Cigars makes is the Liga Midnight. That's a Nicaraguan Maduro Oscuro. Very similar wrappers, actually. This one's a little bit more premium, a little bit more of a higher priming on the leaf. On the plant, but yeah, you could see a very similar resemblance in the leaf that's used on this box press cigar that's used on the Liga Midnight. Man, this is good. This is just absolute, like, there's a reason I wanted to smoke this cigar in my backyard, and this is just one of those cigars that you just want to sit back with your legs up. Like, can I do that? Oh, what have I been doing all my life? Oh, these reviews are about to change right now. Oh, man. Yeah, you just want to sit back in a lawn chair, man, in the beautiful, well, for me, it's beautiful weather. For some of you guys, it's getting crap. Ohio already got the white death, the snow. I seen it, had flashbacks, and I hated it. And I went outside and I stood in the sun. It made me feel better. But yeah, like this is one of those cigars that you really just want to sit back and enjoy. I'm actually here pretty early this morning recording this because I've had trouble getting this video recorded just because there's been interruptions. It happens. This is a cigar that when I smoke it, I don't want to be interrupted. To be honest, for me, being a cigar reviewer and being somebody who has a lot of different product, being somebody that smokes a lot of cigars, for me, it's really hard to just grab a cigar and sit down and enjoy it. Now, if it's one that I smoke a lot, like one that I have in my humidor at home, it's probably a cigar that I specifically have put in my humidor because it's one that I want to sit outside and enjoy and just take my time, however long it takes me to smoke it, and just sit out there and smoke it and not be interrupted or bothered. Those are the kind of cigars I have at home. But when I'm here, it's really hard to smoke some of those cigars that I like that, because what happens is I get interrupted and the cigar gets set down or it gets relit, or you take a couple puffs and then you're talking too much and then you take a couple more, right? So there's not like a consistency with the smoking it. And that kind of gets that kind of diminishes the whole purpose of wanting to sit back and relax and enjoy the cigar. And as a shop owner, that's some of the things that do come into play when you smoke a cigar. So when I got this cigar and started smoking it, and it was one of those ones that, like, when I smoke this cigar, I just don't want to be bothered. I don't want to hear extra noise. I don't want to hear anything, right? I just want to be present with this cigar. And that's why I was going to do the review on this one at home. But it just worked out. It was easier to do it today. I'm serious when I say this. There's not a lot of cigars out there that you can just run the chocolate gambit. I mean, it's like a smoked chocolate with some woody notes. Just missed. But it was a little too close for comfort, just saying. I am coning it a little bit. I'm smoking it kind of fast. One, because I'm trying to get through it for the review, but two, because it's so good. This is one of those cigars that I kind of wish I made in a Robusto size, because I would want to smoke the Robusto a lot slower and make that last like an hour plus. And a lot of times a Robusto can last around 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what kind of smoker you are. For me, this is the kind of cigar that I keep saying, I would want to smoke with it. I would want 2 hours uninterrupted to smoke this cigar. I would have no problem sitting outside, not being bothered, and smoking this cigar for an hour and a half plus. That's just where I'm at with it. And this review's been over 30 minutes already because the camera already flipped me off for being longer than 30 minutes. So I'm not even halfway through and we're 30 minutes in. This is also one of those cigars where if you don't retrohale the cigar, you are going to miss out on some of those flavor notes. Now, let me clear my palate real quick and see. Let me just do where I don't retrohale, because I retrohale a lot. All right, so I cleared my palate a little bit, and I'm going to try to do it without retrohaling, because I retrohale a lot. But let me see what kind of notes I'm getting now that I'm getting into the second third if I'm not retrohaling, because there are people that don't retrohale. And one of the things that I learned from Mo from Patina, which if you haven't watched that video, great video to watch. Mo dropped some education for sure. He was like, I very specifically make sure that I can smoke a whole cigar without retrohaling it and see how the whole cigar smokes. And I'm like, I don't even know if I could. I would have to really consciously focus on not retrohaling at this point in where I'm at. It's really hard for me to not retrohale. So I'm going to do some smoking on this without retrohaling and see how different or what kind of flavor notes you might still be able to pick up without retrohaling. And thank you, Mo, for teaching me that, because now I'm going to start doing that. Okay, so without retrohaling, a little bit more breadiness versus like a nuttiness. You still get a little bit of the cacao or dark cocoa, leaning more cacao, but it's a little bit more bitter. You really miss out on a lot of the sweetness. So let me do some retrohales and let me see how it's different. And clean the palate again. I'm not even going to take a second one. I'm just going to tell you straight away. You're going to miss out on so much of both of these cigars, really, but you're definitely going to miss out so much on this cigar if you don't retrohale. You really are. I mean, it brought out all the cocoa notes. It brought out that burnt cocoa, that woodiness. It brought out the creaminess that actually does kind of exist in the cigar, where you get the milk chocolate. It's kind of where the creaminess is coming from. But without the retrohale, it's a little bit more grassy, a little bit more bitter. You still get a little cocoa out of it, but not as much. Wow. Yeah. It's almost even a little bit more leather to it when you don't retrohale. I know I skipped on you guys a little bit there and went back to not retrohaling, but I had to just see if I was crazy or not. I mean, night and day. I mean, on a retrohale, you're talking Three Musketeers, little creaminess from like a nougaty creaminess. But without retrohaling, it's more woody, more of a dark, dirty cacao, and a little bit more harsh. I've never really done that before. I just kind of smoke a cigar naturally and almost always have a little bit of retrohale that comes out of it, especially because a lot of times, unless I'm just smoking a cigar to smoke it, I'm overanalyzing it. You know, it's a problem. Yeah, especially people like me. We have a tendency to overanalyze stuff. Cigar just keeps getting better and better. It is picking up in the spice a little bit. The strength is picking up just a tad, as well as the spice. There's still no pepper on it, though. You're still not getting any kind of a burn in your mouth. You're still not getting any kind of, there's no hot sauce effect. There's no lip burn. There's no tongue burn. There's no roof of your mouth, back of your throat. There's no burning sensation. So there's no pepper. But there is a little bit of like a baker spice. Yeah, maybe like a nutmeggy cinnamon kind of spice. It can tingle the nose just a little bit, but it doesn't burn. Again, look at the oils on that wrapper. And it's shining. No, it's not painted. Not painted. Picking up in strength. It just transitioned a little bit more. Definitely picking up a little bit. The leather bite's coming in a little bit more, even on the retrohale now. That spice is picking up just a tad. A little bit more nose tingle. A little bit more harshness on the smoke as you continue to get into this final third. A little bit more of that char. Yeah, this is a journey cigar in a way that like it starts you off. It's kind of light and grassy. You get some of the cocoa. You get a little bit of this, and then it's just like, it's like as it gets through each quarter of the cigar, it gets a little bit more strong and a little bit more full as you go. It literally just ramps up. Just a slow roll to max RPMs, bro. And it actually does have a little bit more. So now, as I'm sitting here, I can actually taste a little bit of a pepper spice, almost like a little bit of like a cayenne that actually does burn the back of my mouth and palate, which I didn't have until literally probably the last two takes on the cigar. That spice, that light nose tingly spice that was like kind of nutmeggy is kind of starting to turn into more of a pepper now, more of a spice, more of a hot pepper like a cayenne. Definitely changes though. I got to go open the shop, and I'll close it up with you guys here in a couple minutes when I get to the final third here. All right, we're back here getting down into the final third of the Good Soldier, the Habano Oscuro Nicaraguan cigar that is in representation of the Zeal Legacy by the way of my cigar. So there's about 4 cigars that I'm going to throw into this legacy kind of lineup, right? You've got the Twisted Fate, which kind of started it all. The cigar that was made in representation of how mine and Bradley Reith's life was twisted in a fate that was beyond both of our control. I mean, the story's incredible. It really is. I think we take for granted how much we're put in places that we don't really understand the whole reason that we're put in them for. I'll leave it at that. And then the second cigar in the Reith Legacy, the Zeal Legacy line, was the William Bradley, the WB, the cigar made kind of in representation of, Bradley's legacy continuing through life, through his grandkids and through his kids. And William Bradley being the first one born. And he kind of looked and acts a little bit like Bradley. And the final 2 cigars in that Zeal Legacy kind of mix is going to be the Faithful Servant and then my cigar, the Good Soldier. So those are the 4 cigars that really kind of represent the legacy of Zeal cigars and where it is at this moment. And this cigar definitely deserves its place in the way of representation of me too. This does a good job of representing me. I'm a roller coaster of a person. I'm up, I'm down, I'm around, I spin around, right? I'm kind of a lunatic in that way. So this cigar is like a roller coaster, man. It takes you up the hill at the beginning, nice and slow, drops you off into just this flavor journey through the middle of the cigar, and then it spins you around and kind of makes you go, all right, when's the ride ending? As you get towards the end here. I don't mean that in a bad way, right? Sometimes you want the ride to end so you can get right back on it. But the cigar does pick up in a lot of those notes. They get more hearty, more earthy, more leather, more bitterness, more strength comes out of the cigar, a little bit more pepper that wasn't there through the whole first 2/3, right? It's a really, really unique cigar to smoke that really takes you on a journey, starts you nice and slow, and then just the volume just continues to get turned up as you smoke the cigar. And it's not short of any of those flavor notes. And what's interesting is I would like to see over time is if the cigar sits for 6 to 8 months, how does the back end of this finish compared to the front? And does the front strengthen up a little bit and get a little bit, more full and less grassy like you get off the front of the cigar? Which probably comes with that. The grassiness probably comes a lot from that closed foot. You're getting a lot more of that Habano Oscuro. And when it's an Oscuro, it is picked a little bit early, right? So it's not picked as a full mature Maduro. And when that happens, you are going to get a little bit of some grassy notes out of it. Well, sorry I went off on some tangents on you guys there, but this cigar, smoking these two cigars have been really exciting, and they're really enjoyable cigars to smoke, and they're two of the better cigars I think that we've put out in a long time, and I'm super proud of them, and I can't wait to hear the feedback. So if you haven't smoked either one of these, when you get a chance, if you get a chance, let me know what you think of them. Comment below. Comment on the Faithful Servant. Comment on this one if you've smoked both of them. Let us know what you guys think of these cigars. They mean a lot to us, and there was a lot that went into these, both in the partnership with the people that we chose, to the cigars that we made and the way that we made them, and I hope you guys enjoy them as much as we are. And with that, I got to get out of here. Shop's open. I got to get to work. Peace.